All right, so it finished Manchester United nil, Bournemouth 3. This was the same scoreline from last year, 2023 December, and I remember vividly being really pissed that that happened. And in my opinion, I thought that was the beginning of the end for Ten Hag last year. I felt like that because it took a different kind of Man United for a team like Bournemouth. No disrespect, to come to Old Trafford and to score 3 goals. Actually, they scored 4 goals last season, and one was given as offside. Well, it's happened again today, and I would say that I'm not super surprised, but I think I'm a little taken aback by what I saw today. From the past few weeks of having Ruben Amorim as Man United manager, I've seen what you can call a clear pattern of play, and I've seen players knowing what to do in their respective roles. So I give Amorim that credit. I also saw the way some of the games progressed. There are some games where it seemed like it's a little bit of not having the good luck, and there are some games where we just weren't good enough. But you can, from all of the games that we've played under Amorim, you can say that there has been a little bit of awareness of what is happening, what is supposed to be happening at this club, what the players themselves need to be doing. That pattern was there. I think today did not pan out well at all, and I don't think today would be a good look on Amorim himself. I've said previously to some of my colleagues that know me that I believe more in Amorim than any of the players that Man United have right now. And I don't really care who that player is. I think I've heard enough of the manager to be convinced by the kind of person that he is and how much of a leader he is. So I believe more in him, more in his method, more in his strategy than I believe in the best player at Man United right now, which I don't even think we have anything like a best player, to be honest. So today, however, is a bad look on Amorim. I think he knows himself that he would have some leeway in the beginning period of his managerial career here. But I think also he should be aware that these players, he needs to take them seriously. He needs to take them seriously because as fans, we've been here before. He has not been here before. He doesn't know what we've seen. He doesn't know what we've known about these players. So I think he needs to up his effort a little bit because this is not news, like I said, to us. It's not something that we are surprised by. If he knows that he has goals towards the end of the season and beyond, he needs to know the kind of players that he needs to be playing and the ones that he should not be playing. Or let me say, he needs to know the players that he should be managing on his squad versus those that should not be playing. Because one thing that fans know is that these players don't run for shit. These players are weak. Their mentality is terrible. They are a poor group of players together. I don't know how that has happened, but it's what we have right now. So I know he believes so much in player rotation, player not wearing them out too much, and things like that. But I think honestly, his starting 11 should, for now, not be changing much. What he can do probably is try to sub some players off, but in a period like this where the team is fragile, where their confidence is very low, and when they seem to not be able to get to that place where they are just comfortable. They never have been comfortable. For a very long time now, this team don't know what it means to be comfortable in games. Amorim needs to understand that this is not news. This is not new. He needs to know the kind of players that he wants to work with, and he needs to have a starting 11 that is regular. Don't worry for now. Don't worry about players being too weak. Play your best 11 every time. Then, at 60 or 70 minutes, take them out. I personally feel like you need a team that can steady the ship up until a good period in a game, and then you can start bringing in French players. And right now, 75% of the squad are French players. They are not good enough. They are simply terrible players. So it needs to keep those that it believes more in on the pitch, even though I'm talking about Premier League games now, even though it might seem like they are not well rested enough, it still needs to play them. If he does that and is able to get a couple of results, then in the other two competitions that we're playing, which I personally believe that we should not even be doing, we should not be putting too much effort on things like Carling Cup or Carabao Cup, as it's called now, FA Cup, Europa League. We have no business playing in any of this competition now. Those French players could be starting those games, but the Premier League is where it's at. If you can build enough momentum in the Premier League, it's going to rub off on other competitions. So it needs to make sure that his players that he can trust are the ones starting the games, not shuffling every time. That's for Amorim. Like I said, I believe in him. I will never pick any of these players before Amorim because he's a good manager, and I know that. Now, moving on to the players. I was going to do like a little bit of what you might call rating, and if they deserve to be in the squad over the next few years. People might be surprised by this, but I think I've seen some things that I'm not too sure would really change much in the future. Onana needs to go. In fact, Onana and Bayender needs to go. Two good keepers should be looked in the next coming market for the next season. They both need to go. They are not good enough. They should not be nowhere near this team, because what happens is that their individual error can take out all of the confidence that a fragile team like this is trying to build. You cannot work with Onana. It's not good enough. And then Martinez. I am the biggest Martinez fan. And I don't even believe sometimes that I'm even saying this. But I think Martinez is done. Whatever happened to him towards the end of his first season at Man United, I think is still somewhere in his body. And I don't think he has been able to get over that thing. So Martinez he has been shambolic this season. He has been very much terrible this season. And he's not been able to put behind him all of those bad games that he's been having. I think he's struggling a lot. So I think Martinez long term is not going to fit into what this team is looking for. This team is looking for people that are fighters, people that can put their head in front of a kick, people like Ugarte, people that are like very, very dominant on the ball, and people that will risk anything to make sure that the ball doesn't get at the back of the net. Martinez is not that player. He's too, would I say carefree, or he almost always finds himself in no man's land. Like he doesn't know what, it's like he's no longer in sync with the pace of the game. He's applying himself so slowly. Malacia needs to leave. I don't think I need to explain that. He's not meant for this club. Luke Shaw needs to go. I personally don't even understand why Luke Shaw is making statements about he's been sorry that he's not been able to play as much as he wants, that it's hard for the injury that he's been having has been very tough to take. Maybe he feels like he owes fans a bit of openness, but I feel like most fans have kind of moved away from Shaw. Like we get it, you're never gonna be that player again, so you don't really owe us anything. We just want you to see out your contract, and hopefully by the end of this season you can leave. We don't need a player that is that independable around Man United. Like I said, this is going to be a very controversial list. Kobe Mino is a player that I think is not intense enough. He's not intense enough, and he plays as if he's a little old, as if he's not this young guy that is meant to be slugging it out in the middle of the park and making sure that nothing beats him. Ugarte is stronger on the ball than Mino, and I'm really a little bit surprised by that. Mino is being brushed off and is not applying himself as much as he. I think Mino should leave, but maybe he should not leave by the end of this season. I think over time, when more quality players come, I think over the next 3 years, maybe Mino should definitely leave, because I think right now, I know it's going to get better. That's why I'm willing to give him that time. Even though I want him to leave, but I don't want it to be like right now, because it can be better. But would I put my money on it that it definitely will be better, especially with the crop of players that we have right now? I don't think so. You can say that he should be one of the last persons to leave, but I think he should leave because he's not strong enough on the ball. If you cannot build up on that, he should leave. Christian Eriksen is a no-brainer. He's not strong enough. He's very intelligent, but the pace of the game right now is beyond him, and it's not going to get better at that age. So Christian Eriksen definitely should be leaving Man United. Diogo Dalot is a very much technically limited player. He's so bad that you 100% know that whenever the ball gets to him, there's most likely not going to be progress at top of the field. He's going to struggle to beat a man. I know he's not an attacking player, so I don't even get why Amorim insists on having him on the left side of defense as a left wing back. It's not that kind of player that can do that. Technically, it's limited. I feel like the right wing and the left wing would determine how much this team is able to do. I think most of the good in this current formation we're playing depends on how amazing the wing backs are. If they are really good, this team is going to play really well. So Diogo Dalot is a no-brainer. He needs to leave by the end of this season. Anthony is just not going to be that player that he was at Ajax. And Man United don't need players that are at Ajax level anyways. I don't see him beating. I know he likes to come off as someone that is tough and someone that is able to force his way to, because of his childhood. He believes he has a tough childhood, and anything else, he's going to be able to get through it. But sometimes it's not exactly like that. His quality is not good, and is kind of small, so it's easy to be bullied off. And technically, of course, is almost zero. So Anthony has no future at Man United. He needs to leave. If you go to the midfield, you have someone like Mount. Mount and Shaw should not be playing for Man United. The pressure is going to come. If you're not available and you can't be dependent on what are you doing at a club like Man United, you should just leave. Mount is another player that has been a 0/10 since he came to this club. He needs to leave. Rasmus Højlund is not good enough. He's not a good enough player. I see that his older play has slightly improved, but that's not exactly the kind of player that we want. Someone that he can just be bullied off the ball like so easily. He likes to fight. I give him that. I think I like the fact that he shows some heart on the game, but he's just not technical enough. Like a defender, a pretty decent defender is not going to have a problem defending against Højlund, because Højlund is not very technical. He's not really technical. He's just one of those players that maybe should be coming off the bench every time you have a very serious player, a serious 9 that is leading your attack. Højlund should not be that player. Joshua Zirkzee is too slow, and that alone is not going to do him any good in the Premier League. Zirkzee needs to leave. As good technically as he might be, he's not going to really be able to express himself. So Zirkzee should be leaving Man United. He should not even be thinking. I don't think in the case of Zirkzee there's any remedy, really. I think it's just what it is. It's never going to be good enough. Garnacho, I don't believe in Garnacho. Garnacho is a terrible football player. Sometimes I even feel like maybe he's still locked into his youth period, or times when he was leading the line and he was dazzling and he was playing well. Right now, I see a player that cannot even control the ball. Easily bullied off the ball. Never intense. Never been known to be an intense player, and he just manages to run away from defenders and try to shoot. His passing maybe has improved a little, but you cannot depend on a player like that for goals. You cannot depend on a player like that for... What can you even depend on Garnacho for? Nothing. So Garnacho needs to leave Man United. He needs to absolutely leave Man United. I don't believe in him. I don't believe in his quality as a player. I think he got fame at a very young age, and he clearly doesn't see how terrible he's been. And then Marcus Rashford is a no-brainer. He needs to, even if it's January, he needs to leave. He's not gonna be able to make it back into the team. When he comes into the team, he doesn't even care to run. So we don't need those kind of players anyways. So yeah, those are the things the people that I can remember from the top of my head that need to leave that club. If anything is gonna happen that is gonna help the team. Casemiro, I forgot. Casemiro, of course, his wages and his age is not good enough. It's not favorable for him. So I think he should be leaving at the end of the season. It's never gonna be able to keep up with the pace of the Premier League. It would just end up being an average football player at Man United. We don't need people like that. So he needs to leave as well. Yeah, so this is just my opinion on the current players we have at Man United. Amorim needs to be very careful. From the list of players that we have right now, including the ones I just mentioned, he needs to find people that can play week in, week out. It's going to be tough, but that's the least he can do. Stick with them and then try to sort them off when the time comes. Thank you.